Oh, what a beautiful way to go. I'm out of my mind, I can't find my way home. I know I'm heartless sane. I'm done and dusted again.
This is the sword that we're going to be using, or one of the two swords we'll be using, in the film Christ Complex. In today's video vlog, I'm going to walk you through the influences that went behind writing this film. Okay, unlike what we did last time, we're actually going to go through the influences behind the project. Last time I actually sat down, I discussed with everybody the passion, the drive behind the project, and why we want to do it. But I think to kind of get you excited about the project is to kind of show you films that you're familiar with and kind of how those influences played into the final shooting script, which we're going to use to film Christ Complex. So first, the idea kind of came from the fact that I'm a huge fan of the film Versus. So when I sat down and get my handy dandy DVD collection here, this is actually everything in this stack here is actually from my personal DVD collection. But when I started out the process, I started with the film Versus. And basically the gist of Versus is these two guys fight to the death. They're destined to do it every so often. They even switch roles every once in a while. And that's basically the setup for Versus. It's just basically there's two guys, one's evil, one's good, and they fight to the death. So I took the idea of Versus, and then I threw some Cameron Crowe in. So I take, because really, I'm not really much of a fan of the the Japanese anime style, although I usually like a lot of the themes and the ideas. I'm more of a romantic comedy type of guy. So I take this, I add some Cameron Crowe in. Then from there, I'm very signature Woody Allen. I'm a huge Woody Allen fan. So from there, I threw some Hannah and her sisters. Purple Rose of Cairo, because I like the fact that Jeff Daniels' character in this film is kind of a fish out of water, which is kind of how I view Quinn in the film, as kind of a fish out of water. Mia Farrow's kind of been in a lot of bad relationships and looking for an escape. I view her as kind of like Zoe's character. So I definitely wanted to use this as kind of a template, and obviously add in some Annie Hall, because obviously I'm a huge fan of Annie Hall. Can't have some Woody Allen without Fellini. So Fellini was actually a huge influence. But you take some Fellini, and this film right here was actually not an influence, but he has Takashi Miike in. Really, I use this because it's in my DVD collection. I couldn't find Blues Harp, but actually Blues Harp was a much more of an influence, and the DOA series, the Dead or Alive series, was also an influence. Actually, more so was an influence just because of the fact that in the first film, it was kind of like the beginning of a rock video with the two actors in front of the camera being like a 1, 2, 3, 4. So, the very beginning of the script just kind of emulates that type of feel. But you can't have Takashi Miike without adding some Hudson Hawk humor in it. So I like the humor of Hudson Hawk. I always have. I'm one of the few defenders of the film. And so I decided that style and that humor had to be a must in this project. And then I'm also a huge fan of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, mostly because they did something ballsy and different with this film. So I like some of the grandiose scenes, like Freddy attacking the pool party, and I wanted something like that, like some scenes that just seemed completely just too good to be, or epic scenes that were just kind of completely out of the context of the film to be in the film. But when I originally came up with the idea, I was actually watching Smallville, and I remembered, I was watching the relationship with Lois and Clark, and I thought, how hard it would be to watch a romantic comedy where the girl was in love with God, and God had to basically make the decision of whether to fulfill his destiny or being in love with the Savior or Christ, and what it would be like to be in love with somebody like that, but he has to also fulfill his destiny. But with everything, it always comes down to that 70s grindhouse style, so it always comes down to they call her One Eye or Thriller, the Cruel Picture. That actually, honestly, was a huge influence too. Not so much in context or in subject matter, but more in style. And also, what I love about these films, they're very exploitive. Most of the Grindhouse films are very exploitive, but especially like Thriller, Cruel Picture, otherwise known as The Color One Eye. Underneath its core, there's actually something a lot deeper going on, and that's kind of what I want to do with this film. So, anyway, that's a very brief pitch on the influences, and it all obviously comes back down to verses. So, hopefully next time we'll talk a little bit more about the music behind the film. Obviously, the song that kind of opens up, this pitch and the last pitch, we definitely want to use in the film. That's pretty much a rundown of influences. And next time we'll talk a little bit more about the production angle and some of the plans we have for production.